The evening air carried a gentle breeze as Hal Jones stepped into the illuminated glass confines of a public telephone booth. The city hummed quietly around him, a symphony of distant engines and rustling leaves. He held a stack of coins, feeding them into the machine with a sense of urgency. The rhythmic clinking echoed slightly in the small space. He was a young man with a bright spirit, but tonight, a shadow of genuine concern crossed his features. He needed guidance, and he knew exactly who to call. Miles away, in a warm and comfortably furnished apartment, Frank Cannon was enjoying a peaceful evening. The rich, savory aroma of a spinach souffle wafted from his kitchen, promising a delightful dinner. When the telephone rang, its chime broke the quiet melody of the classical music playing in the background. Frank walked over, a welcoming smile already forming on his face. "Hello," Frank answered, his voice deep and resonant. "Hello, Frank. It is Hal Jones," the voice on the other end replied. Frank's smile widened. "Oh, Hal, how are you doing?" "I have got a problem, Frank," Hal admitted, his tone unusually serious. Frank's demeanor shifted instantly to one of attentive care. "Yes, what is wrong?" "Look, we are buddies, right?" "We are in the same business," Hal said, seeking the familiar reassurance of his father's old friend. "I need some professional advice." "Where are you?" Frank asked, his protective instincts kicking in. "In a phone booth," Hal replied. "Look, I got myself into one terrible jam trying to help out a client. May I talk to you in confidence?" "Surely," Frank said without hesitation, "but not over the telephone. You know, I am only a few minutes away." "Well, look, I just put a spinach souffle in the oven. Why do you not come up here and share it with me?" Frank offered, hoping the promise of good food and safe company would ease the young man's burden. "I will be right up," Hal said, a trace of relief finally softening his voice. "Okay. Thanks, Frank." But Hal never arrived for that dinner. The next morning, the sun rose over a city that felt a little less bright to those who knew and loved Hal Jones. Frank Cannon stood in the center of his living room, his heart heavy, when the telephone rang again. He picked it up, expecting to hear a familiar voice, perhaps an apology for a missed dinner. "Hello. Hal, is that you?" Frank asked, hope threading through his words. "Who is this?" a solemn, older voice responded. Frank paused. "Oh, this is Frank Cannon. Who am I talking to?" "This is Hal's father, Mr. Cannon," the voice said, carrying the immense weight of a sorrow that words could barely contain. "Hal is dead. He was killed last night." Frank closed his eyes, a profound sense of loss washing over him. "Oh, Mr. Jones, I am so sorry."
"Give me a minute with him."
"Why were you calling?" Barnaby Jones, a man of great wisdom and gentle strength, took a slow breath on the other end of the line. "Well, Hal called me last night." "What time?" Frank asked softly. "Oh, I guess it was about 11:45, Barnaby recalled. "From a pay telephone. He said that he was in some kind of trouble." "What kind of trouble?" Frank asked, piecing the timeline together. "He did not say. He just said he wanted to talk to me, and I told him to come on up to my place. He said he would be right over." Frank paused, his professional mind working alongside his grieving heart. "I will be right over to see you."
No, no, no.
"Wait a minute. Hold on." Barnaby interjected smoothly, maintaining his composure. "Are the police there?" "They are here," Frank confirmed. "Then why do we not meet at Hal's office before they get there?" Barnaby suggested, his voice finding a steady, purposeful rhythm. "I am on my way." "All right," Frank agreed. Later that day, the atmosphere in Hal's office was thick with memories. Barnaby Jones moved through the room with a quiet reverence, touching the edges of the desk, tracing the spine of a familiar book. The place was a sanctuary of the past and the present intertwined. Frank Cannon walked in, his large frame filling the doorway. He approached Barnaby with a gentle respect. "Mr. Jones, I would like to offer my condolences. Hal was a close friend. I do not have to tell you how he valued your friendship." Barnaby looked up, his eyes reflecting a mixture of gratitude and determination. "Thank you, Frank. What did he say to you last night?" "Oh, not much more than what I told you," Frank replied, stepping further into the room. that he had gotten himself into trouble. Trying to help a client. A client? Barnaby asked, his sharp mind already beginning to catalog the clues. Yes, and he wanted to talk to me in confidence, Frank added. Did he say where he went? Just a few minutes away, he said. Griffith Park, Barnaby noted. He was shot down in the telephone booth he was calling me from. Barnaby looked around the office, a soft, wistful smile touching his lips. This place is like an old friend, and there are not many of them left. For years ago, when I retired, I calculated I had lived exactly half my life out of this office. He walked over to the desk, his fingers brushing the polished wood. Hal used to love this place. He used to come here as a boy. He worked his way through the University of Southern California. He used to study here at night, right in there at my desk. Sometimes right in here. Barnaby's eyes twinkled with a fond memory. Oh, I used to give him some help now and then. Chemistry, clinical psychology, forensic medicine, criminology. Those were my specialties, you know. I know, Frank said gently. When I turned the business over to Hal, he did not change a single thing. Frank stepped forward, his expression earnest. Barnaby, I would like your permission to take on this case. I would consider it a personal honor to find the man who killed your son. Barnaby turned to look at Frank, deeply touched by the offer. That is very generous of you, Canon, but this is something for me to do. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a well-maintained, classic revolver. Here is another old friend. I only had to use it once in 28 years. Frank looked at the older man, concern mingling with respect. Look, Barnaby, I am going to be blunt with you. You have been in retirement for 4 years now. You said that yourself. Yes, but the old reflex is still as sharp as a tack, Barnaby replied with quiet confidence. You ever work on horses, Canon? Only at the $10 betting window. Do not remind me of it. Frank chuckled warmly, appreciating the attempt to lighten the mood. What about Hal's wife? Frank asked, shifting back to the reality of their situation. I suppose she is going to be needing your help now. Yes, I thought of that. Barnaby nodded slowly. But the more I think of Betty, the more resolved I am to get this man myself. Canon, you may be the best in the business, but I did all right for myself for 28 years, and Hal was my son. Frank smiled, recognizing the unbreakable will of a father. Okay, which is not to say that I might not need your help. What case was Hal working on, do you know? No, I doubt it. We will find out here, Barnaby said, gesturing to the filing cabinets. He was as uncomplicated as I was. He carried everything in his head. Then he went to a party the night before last, Thursday, hosted by somebody by the name of Terry. Terry McCormick. Terry McCormick, Frank repeated. That is the lawyer who is running for Congress, correct? Hal did some work for him a couple of years ago on an industrial espionage case, Barnaby explained, piecing the puzzle together. McCormick has kept him on retainer ever since. Have you ever heard of a girl by the name of Karen Armsby? No, Frank said. Barnaby picked up a recent newspaper from the desk. What is this? Yesterday's newspaper. It says there that she worked on McCormick's staff. The scene shifted in Barnaby's mind to the bustling campaign headquarters of Terry McCormick. Television cameras and reporters filled the room. Terry, a charming and polished politician, stood behind a podium adorned with patriotic bunting. So, on behalf of my campaign coworkers and myself, I would like to say that we are deeply gratified to learn that we have moved ahead in the polls, Terry announced to the crowd, his smile broad and charismatic. A reporter raised his hand. Let me ask a question, Mr. McCormick. Some commentators attribute your surging popularity to your free-spending campaign style. Terry leaned into the microphone, his tone earnest and relatable. Well, Mr. Russell, let me say this. I have contributed considerable resources of my own to this campaign, but I believe that my exposure has not communicated my personal means to the voters as much as it has my spirit of commitment. I think that should do it. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much. I will see you all in Washington, I hope. As the press conference concluded, Barnaby approached the candidate. Mr. McCormick, I am sorry to interrupt. I am Hal Jones's father. Terry's expression shifted immediately to one of deep sympathy. Oh, Please come into my office. I do not want to be disturbed. All right? Most of your questions will be answered in this press release, ladies and gentlemen, so please take one on your way out. Inside the quiet sanctuary of the office, Terry turned to Barnaby. I only heard the news on my car radio as I was driving in. I cannot tell you how shocked I was. All of us who knew Hal felt so startled. Yes, everyone liked him. Almost everyone, Barnaby said thoughtfully, taking a seat. I do not want to take too much of your time, Mr. McCormick. Do not you worry about my time, sir. Here, please come sit down, Terry offered graciously. And tell me if there is anything at all that I can do for you.
Yes.
Yes, you might be able to help me a great deal, Barnaby said, his eyes keenly observing the politician. You see, I am investigating Hal's passing. When was the last time you saw Hal? Well, as a matter of fact, he came to a party at my house in Malibu last Thursday night, Terry answered smoothly. Really? A big party? Barnaby asked. I do not suppose there were more than 25 or 30 people, Terry recalled. It started out as a get-together for some of the members of my campaign staff, and it just grew. It is fortunate that my wife and children are in Aspen visiting her parents. Was he alone? Hal? Barnaby pressed gently.
Yes.
But you are asking me, was he working for me? Terry anticipated. Well, the answer is yes again, but I do not understand because it was just campaign security. Were you having problems? Barnaby inquired. No, not at all. I invited Hal simply to meet the other members of my staff, Terry explained. I wonder if it would be possible for me to have a list of the other guests who attended the party, Barnaby requested, his tone polite but firm. Certainly. I will have my secretary make out a list for you this afternoon. Terry agreed without hesitation. Well, here is my card in case you want to get in touch with me for any reason, Barnaby said, rising from his chair. And thank you very much for your time, Mr. McCormick. Please call me Terry, sir. If you stop calling me sir, Terry smiled warmly. I forgot to offer my condolences to you on the death of the young lady who is working for you. Karen Armsby, Barnaby added, watching Terry's reaction closely. Thank you. Well, good luck on your campaign, Barnaby said, leaving the office with more questions than answers. Later that afternoon, Barnaby and Frank Cannon reconvened. Frank approached Barnaby from behind, his large silhouette unmistakable against the afternoon sun. Cannon? How did you know it was me? Barnaby chuckled, turning around. You have a rather distinctive silhouette, Frank teased gently. Barnaby handed Frank a piece of paper. I talked to Terry McCormick today. He said Hal was at the party, but that is all. Here is a list of the other people. Karen Armsby was there, too. He played it very close to his vest about her. Awful close, Frank agreed, studying the list. 2 people at the same party, both now dead. One murdered, the other ruled a suicide. 1 day apart. Can you make a connection? What, do you question the suicide? Barnaby asked, his brow furrowed in thought. I question everything, Frank stated simply. Of course, the medical examiner's report is pretty conclusive. She swallowed a whole bottle of barbiturates. That could put her to sleep permanently in 15 minutes. Yes, it must have been some terrible party, Barnaby mused. And a long ride home for her, too. That is what bothers me. Who took her home? Or did she drive herself? I think I am going to check her place out, Frank decided. You got anything else? Here is the ballistics report on Hal, Barnaby said, handing over a folder. A slug from a .38 caliber weapon. Frank spent the next few hours meticulously interviewing the building manager at Karen Armsby's apartment complex. The manager, a kind-hearted older woman, was visibly distressed by the recent events. How did you happen to find her at 10 o'clock in the morning? Frank asked gently. I was returning her keys, the manager explained, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. What key? The car keys. Her car had been in the repair shop for a week. I just brought it back. The driver left the keys with me. I always put things away for Karen. She said I was like a mother to her. And somebody else drove her Thursday night, correct? Frank inquired. I do not know if it was one of them. She had lots of admirers. I did not see her Thursday night, the manager replied sadly. Meanwhile, Terry McCormick's carefully constructed world was beginning to fracture. He sat in his private study when the telephone rang.
Yes.
All right, I will take it. Hello. Terry answered, annoyance clipping his words. I could have ended you today, a cold, disguised voice whispered through the receiver. That was just a warning, Mr. Candidate. Terry's blood ran cold. Who was this? Where were you last night? We had a date, remember? At the Griffith Park Observatory. You think I was joking or something? I joke you not, the voice taunted. You need a little push, maybe. Like next time I try your side of the windshield. I have got something better. I've got Karen's suicide note right here in my hand. Terry gripped the edge of his desk. What are you talking about? Oh, it is a real Valentine. Like how you were going to divorce your wife and marry her. But you lied, the blackmailer sneered. I would be glad to give you a copy. I had several made up this morning for the newspapers. But I am keeping the original just for you. What do you want? Terry demanded, panic creeping into his voice. You have got a very short memory. The same as before, $100,000 in $20 bills. Have the money ready and be at your telephone at 11 o'clock. Tonight. The line went dead. Back at the Jones residence, Barnaby sat with Hal's widow, Betty. The house was quiet, filled with the warmth of shared memories and the lingering scent of fresh coffee. Betty held a mug in both hands, seeking comfort in its warmth. Harold, is that? Betty started, her voice breaking slightly. He is not coming back.